Welcome to the InforMaven AI Update, a podcast for higher education administrators to discuss the practical use of AI and intelligent agents. I'm JD Mosley-Matchett, the founder and CEO of InforMaven, a company that helps you work smarter by harnessing the power of intelligent agents. And this month, our guest is Dr. Will Miller, Associate Vice President for Continuous Improvement and Institutional Performance at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. How will AI reshape the role of institutional researchers, assessment leaders, and accreditation liaisons? Looking ahead 5 to 10 years, how do you envision AI reshaping the role of institutional researchers, assessment leaders, and accreditation liaisons? And what new skills will be essential for them to thrive?
Yeah, and I think on all of those, it's going to be reshaped. I'm going to start with that, and I think that's an important one. It's going to be reshaped more than would just naturally occur iteratively over time. On the IR side, I feel like they're going to have more power and more ability to kind of guide questions in strategic directions than they have historically. We obviously have stronger data lakes than we've ever had in higher ed, but despite the fact that higher ed's become incredibly data rich, we're still incredibly insight poor, I think, across the board. And I would say you have institutions who are doing a great job of this. So again, it's generalizing, but the average institution is now sitting there with all of this data and, we're into that collect data mode, but then it's what are we really doing with it? The AI is going to help there, but we're going to have to break away from some of our traditional research methodologies to get there. AI opens up the door for, I'll call it Monday morning quarterbacking for the sake of this, where I don't need to go in with a theory. I don't need to go in with a why. And we've seen some of this with the machine learning data over the last 5-10 years already. But if I have all this data and I all of a sudden have a data lake where it all lives, AI can sit there and take it and start identifying things for me that I'm not going to find or see. Because so much of what we've historically done with modeling reflects, greatest good for the greatest number. But AI has the ability to go and be like, for JD, this is happening. And here's some other people who look like JD, and it's happening for some of them and not some of them. So maybe it's time we get them in a focus group and talk through how is this going one way for JD and this other person and this opposite way for these 4 other people. And what can we see coming in? I think it helps, IR contribute to the enrollment pipeline build in ways they haven't historically. In all honesty, one of the industries I'd be worried about right now if I was in it would be kind of the enrollment management consultant side, because so much of what they've been able to offer in terms of building lists and building funnels has been the data side that institutions haven't felt confident in at all levels. But I think a lot of that's going to go away because you're going to have modeling capabilities that allow you to do that. And again, that does, that's outside of the ethical conversation about what data do we put in and how do we look at it and how do we put the parameters on it. But at the end of the day, I think 5 to 10 years from now, that will have been settled one way or the other. But I think that's one that will be interesting to watch sort of play out. On the assessment side and the IE side, what we're doing at Riddle, I feel like could really take off with some groups where we can get people out of doing the bureaucratic pieces because we have agents that they can interact with instead. And we've seen that already. I'm slow rolling out, this idea of doing this through conversations and then sending back to them just a review. Here's your filled out template with all of this great information. And that should be able to help us go to a next level. But I even have faculty now that want to go to the next step today. They're like, well, instead of doing the conversation, do you just have an AI agent I can just talk to? Like, why do I have to schedule an hour with you? Why can't I do this in like 10-minute sprints by myself and then get it, automatically? Or why do you have to then take what the AI produces and copy and paste it into the system? Why can't it just auto feed? And I'm like, all valid questions, all things that I completely agree with and all things that I think in your 5 to 10 year landscape will get to. I think what makes AI and Gen AI especially so, and again, there's no way to put it, like so cool just to talk about and think about is as our students start to learn more and more about it, they're going to keep pushing us further and further with it. So part of the hard part with predicting 5 to 10 years from now on what it can do or what it'll look like is I'm not sure I can even guess what it will be able to do in a good way. But, in my dream scenario, which I do think is realistic in 5 to 10 years, is that, we can have a conversation with a faculty member. It auto fills into a template. We check the box for the accreditor, but we're able to actually spend the bulk of that conversation talking about institutionally, what do they need? What do they need support wise? What's realistic? What's not realistic? What are the barriers if they get X versus if they don't get X? All of those conversations open in ways that today I don't think we fully appreciate what it could look like when they open. And I think in 5 to 10 years, the other part that plays into this is if you're an institution that's already financially struggling in some way, shape, or form, and you decide that you're going to be opposed to AI, that you're not going to be here to have the conversation in 5 to 10 years. I don't think. I was talking to a friend and colleague, Kelly Rainey, who I think you've met a few times. Kelly and I were talking yesterday about stall points. And for so many institutions, we know where the stall points are and we don't respond to them. Like if you've had loss in finance over 5, 6, 7 years, you're at a stall point. Like something is not going the way that it should be. And if you decide that you're just going to put your head down and keep pushing forward on that path, that's where you're going to find closures and crises and all of these, unanticipated emergency problems that, when we really look at it, probably shouldn't have been unanticipated. But I think AI is going to be one of those stall points. I think schools that resist AI will be okay for a while. But I think as job descriptions start to include AI, I won't write a new job description for any position in my office that does not embed AI somewhere in it. As that continues to happen, as industry brings AI more on board, as more AI companies emerge, students talk with their feet, and all of a sudden you're always going to have students that want a strong, and I'm not trying to pick on the liberal arts background because there are plenty of liberal arts schools that do a lot with AI well, and there are plenty of non-liberal arts schools that don't do well with AI, but there will always be a market for, I want a classical liberal art education that's not tech infused, where we tackle the big problems and talk through these things, and there will always be value in that. But with the enrollment cliff, there's going to be fewer students, which means a smaller number off of that percentage, and I don't see that percentage growing. I'm not seeing, at least in anything I'm reading or hearing or looking at, including from, some of the more less tech-friendly folks, I'm not seeing student resistance where they're like, no, this AI is a bad thing and we don't want anything to do with it. Like, we just want this to go away. I've seen a lot more kind of like, we didn't like predictive modeling, and now I'm like, with AI, this is great. Like, you can just create content for me that I'm going to like, and I'll sit here all day long and scroll through it and give all the money to the advertisers. Like, this is amazing. And yes, that means that I might be missing other things I might like that aren't somewhere in the algorithm, but, I'll try to keep that in mind and be diverse enough in what I spend my time on that I'll get infused some of that at different points.
Please visit InforMaven AI to hear the entire interview.